The soft sound of rain pattering gently against the window is the first thing Anna notices as she begins to stir from her dreams. The rhythmic tapping lulls her, a comforting sign that autumn is truly here. The cool morning air fills the room, bringing with it the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. It's the perfect kind of day to stay curled up, but she knows there's work to be done. She lets out a soft yawn and stretches, feeling the cozy warmth of her blankets against her skin. Outside, the sky is still wrapped in the deep hues of early morning, but soon the clouds will give way to a brighter gray, filled with the promise of more rain. Anna feels the familiar quiet of the town, still asleep and tucked in for the morning, just like her. Lazily, she swings her legs over the side of the bed, her toes meeting the cool wooden floor. The chill of the morning brushes her skin, but it feels good. She pulls on her soft, knitted slippers, the ones her grandmother made, and they immediately warm her feet. It's funny how something as simple as slippers can make the day feel just a little bit better. She walks softly toward the kitchen, the house still as quiet as a whisper. The only sounds are the soft creaks of the floorboards beneath her feet and the steady patter of the rain on the roof. Anna smiles to herself, enjoying the serenity of this early hour. She's the first one up in her little street, but she doesn't mind. The peace before the bustle is something she treasures. Anna sets a kettle on the stove, watching the steam rise as it heats up. She thinks about the day ahead. Today, she'll bake her famous cinnamon scones, the ones everyone on the street loves. There's also the batch of pumpkin bread she promised her neighbor, Mrs. Grayson, and, of course, some hot chocolate for herself, just to keep the chill away. As the kettle hums quietly in the background, Anna pulls out a small tin of loose-leaf tea. The smell of the leaves is warm and rich, reminding her of afternoons spent in the garden, wrapped in a blanket with a good book. She places a scoop into her favorite teapot, a little blue one with flowers painted on the side. She fills the teapot with hot water, watching the steam rise in delicate tendrils, and lets the tea steep. There's something so soothing about watching the liquid change color, deepening as the flavors blend. Anna pours herself a cup, adding a dash of honey, and takes a slow sip, feeling the warmth spread through her chest. Outside, the rain continues to fall, now joined by the faint rustle of leaves being carried in the wind. Anna gazes out the window, her breath fogging up the glass. She can't help but smile at the sight. The trees, their branches heavy with rain, sway gently in the breeze. The world looks softer in the rain, quieter, as if everything is wrapped in a blanket. With her tea in hand, Anna steps over to the kitchen table, where a small basket of freshly picked apples sits. She'll bake a batch of apple muffins today, too. She loves the way the warm scent of apples and cinnamon fills the cafe, making it feel even cozier. The thought of the cafe, with its windows fogged up, and the smell of fresh-baked treats wafting through the air, makes her feel content. She finishes her tea and sets the cup down gently on the counter. It's time to start baking. Anna ties her apron, a soft, faded blue one with little flowers on the hem, and begins to prepare the dough for the scones. The kitchen fills with the sound of mixing, the soft whisk of the flour and butter blending together, the quiet clink of measuring spoons and bowls. She moves methodically, enjoying the rhythm of it all. As she rolls the dough into perfect rounds and places them on a baking sheet, she looks out the window again. The rain is heavier now, the sound filling the room, almost as if it's telling its own quiet story. The soft pitter-patter is so calming, so gentle, it feels like a lullaby, coaxing the world back to sleep. She slides the tray of scones into the oven, the warmth of the stove filling the room. While they bake, she walks over to the window and pulls back the curtains slightly, just enough to peer out. The street outside is peaceful, every house still tucked away under its cozy roof. The only movement is the occasional flicker of a porch light shining softly through the mist. Anna sighs contentedly, feeling the peace of the morning wrap around her like a blanket. It's not often she gets moments like these, when everything is still and the world feels safe and calm. She takes a deep breath, savoring the smell of the scones as they begin to bake. There's nothing quite like the warmth of fresh-baked pastries in the morning, especially when the rain is falling. Before long, the oven timer dings, and Anna pulls the scones out, golden and perfect. She lets them cool for a moment, and then places them on a plate. There's just enough time to brew another pot of tea before her first customer of the day arrives. She tidies up the kitchen, washing the dishes and wiping down the counters. The soft glow of the early morning light begins to creep into the room, turning everything a gentle shade of gray. The smell of fresh pastries mixes with the earthy scent of rain, and for a moment, Anna closes her eyes, just taking it all in. When she's done, she heads to the door of the cafe, her bright yellow umbrella waiting for her by the coat rack. She pulls on her raincoat, a soft woolen one that's perfect for these damp days, and steps outside, the umbrella opening with a soft pop above her head. The rain has softened slightly, and the air is fresh and cool as she walks to the bakery. Her boots make a soft squelch on the wet pavement, and she moves through the quiet streets, feeling the calm of the morning settle in her chest. As she walks, she passes the same little shops, each still closed for the morning, their windows dark. The street lamps cast soft pools of light on the wet ground, and the trees seem to be sleeping, their leaves rustling gently in the breeze. It's a beautiful, peaceful morning, the kind that makes Anna feel at home in her little corner of the world. When she arrives at the cafe, the lights are still off, but she knows just how to get it ready for the day. She unlocks the door and steps inside, the smell of the rain still fresh in the air. It's a little quiet, but that's just how she likes it. The cafe is her sanctuary, a place where time seems to slow down. The soft clink of the bell on the door announces the arrival of her first customer, and Anna smiles. The day was already warm, and the comforting sounds of the espresso machine hummed in the background. Today, she was in the mood for something extra special: pumpkin scones. Every year, as the fall season arrived, her regulars would ask when the first batch would be ready, eagerly awaiting the spice-laden treats. She moved to the counter, where a bowl of plump pumpkins sat, waiting to be transformed into something delicious. It was a small ritual she cherished. Every pumpkin she used had a story, a farm up the road where she'd hand-picked them herself. They were her favorite part of the autumn harvest. Lily smiled as she reached for the sharp knife and began to carefully slice through the thick skin, feeling the smoothness of the pumpkin beneath her fingertips. The scent of cinnamon and nutmeg lingered in the air as she mixed the dry ingredients, flour, sugar, and just the right amount of baking powder to ensure a light, crumbly texture. She sifted the flour gently, watching it fall into the mixing bowl like snow. These were the moments that made her heart swell with contentment. There was something about the simple act of baking that brought peace to her mind. Once the dry ingredients were ready, she moved to the wet mixture. Lily whisked together eggs, cream, and a dash of vanilla extract. She loved the way the cream swirled into the eggs, creating a velvety base that would soon hold the pumpkin's earthy sweetness. She added the freshly roasted pumpkin to the mixture, its smooth flesh blending with the other ingredients until the batter was silky and golden. As the final touch, she mixed in a sprinkle of brown sugar, giving the batter a warm, inviting sweetness. As she prepared the dough, Lily turned her attention to the shop itself. The cozy space was now alive with the soft chatter of customers, the clink of coffee cups, and the hiss of the milk steamer. It was a place of quiet magic, where time seemed to slow down, and the simple joys of life were savored in every bite. She loved how it felt like home, a place where people gathered to share stories, laughter, and the warmth of freshly baked treats. Lily carefully spooned the pumpkin scone dough onto a baking sheet, shaping each mound with care. As the scones baked, the sweet, spicy aroma of pumpkin and cinnamon filled the room. The oven worked its magic, turning the dough into golden brown delights that were soft in the center and crisp on the outside. She set the timer and moved to the counter, taking a deep breath of the comforting smells that now enveloped the bakery. The door opened, and a familiar face appeared, a regular customer, Carol, who always came in for her morning coffee and a pastry. Carol smiled as she entered, her cheeks flushed from the cool morning air. Lily greeted her with a warm smile, already knowing what she would order. "The pumpkin scones?" Lily asked, raising an eyebrow playfully. "Yes, please. I can already smell them," Carol replied, her eyes twinkling. As she prepared Carol's order, Lily couldn't help but reflect on the small moments that made the bakery so special. It wasn't just the food, though. The food was certainly a big part of it. It was the connection, the shared space where people could escape from their busy lives for a few minutes and enjoy something warm and comforting. The scones were almost ready. And opened the door, the warmth of the oven escaping in a puff of steam. The scones were perfect, their tops lightly browned and their edges crisp. She placed the scones on a cooling rack, the smell of pumpkin and cinnamon filling the room as she set to work on the finishing touches. A dusting of powdered sugar, just enough to add a touch of sweetness, and they were ready. Lily transferred them to a tray and carried them to the counter, where Carol was already waiting with her coffee. "Here you go," Lily said, setting the tray down in front of Carol. Fresh out of the oven. Carol beamed as she took a bite, the warm scone crumbling delicately in her mouth. "Perfect," she sighed, her eyes closing in contentment. Lily smiled, watching as Carol settled into one of the chairs by the window with her scone and coffee. It was moments like these that made all the hard work worthwhile. The small gestures, the joy of making something from scratch, and the community that had formed around this little bakery, it all felt like magic. As the morning progressed, more customers trickled in, each one greeted with a friendly smile and the comforting sight of freshly baked treats. Some ordered their favorites, while others came in just to see what new seasonal delights Lily had prepared. She moved between the kitchen and the counter, always happy to chat for a moment with the regulars who had become like family over the years. The bakery was filled with the sounds of conversation, the clink of coffee cups, and the occasional burst of laughter. Lily loved this part of the day, the calm before the afternoon rush, when the shop felt like a quiet sanctuary. It was a place where time slowed down, and the world outside seemed far away. Lily took a moment to enjoy the peaceful atmosphere, her eyes drifting over the shelves lined with cookbooks, potted plants, and the handmade pottery she had collected over the years. Each item had a story, a memory attached to it. It was her way of surrounding herself with the things that brought her joy. The oven timer went off again, signaling that it was time to check on the next batch of baked goods. Lily moved quickly to the kitchen, eager to see how they were turning out. She opened the oven door and smiled at the sight of perfectly browned loaves of banana bread, their sweet fragrance filling the air. The day carried on, the bakery filling with the hustle and bustle of customers, the warmth of freshly baked goods, and the feeling of community that had been built over the years. For Lily, it wasn't just about the baking. It was about the connection to the people who walked through her door, the simple pleasure of sharing a cup of coffee and a warm pastry with someone, and the sense of home that her little bakery had become. As the afternoon approached, Lily took a moment to pause and reflect on the beauty of it all. The small moments, the joy in every bite, and the connections made. These were the things that made life truly magical. 30 minutes. Maggie pulls the fresh batch of cookies from the oven, the golden brown edges sending a warm, comforting aroma throughout the kitchen. She sets the tray down on the counter with a satisfied sigh, the soft clink of the baking sheet against the cool granite surface, the only sound in the otherwise quiet room. The kitchen is her sanctuary, and on a crisp autumn morning like this, it feels especially cozy. She moves with purpose as she begins to clean up the scattered bowls, wooden spoons, and flour-dusted countertops, the rhythmic motion of tidying up soothing her busy mind. Over by the window, she notices a familiar face. Her old friend Liam is watching her from the porch, hands tucked deep into the pockets of his jacket, his eyes twinkling with a quiet curiosity. Maggie smiles to herself and walks over to the window, pulling open the curtains. Liam raises an eyebrow, an unspoken question in his gaze. "Would you like a cookie?" Maggie calls out, her voice light and teasing. Liam grins, stepping up to the window. "I think I'd love one." Maggie laughs softly and heads back to the counter, cutting a warm, gooey cookie from the tray. She wraps it in a napkin before carrying it over to the door. She opens it with a soft creak, stepping outside to hand him the treat. The air is crisp with the scent of fresh earth and fallen leaves, the faintest hint of rain on the breeze. Liam takes the cookie with a grateful nod, and Maggie watches him take a bite, the smile on his face growing as the flavor hits him. "You always know just how to bake the perfect cookie," Liam says, his voice warm with admiration. Maggie blushes, the compliment always catching her by surprise. "It's just a simple recipe, nothing fancy." "No, it's perfect, just like everything you do," Liam says, looking at her with a mixture of fondness and something else, something deeper. Maggie feels a slight flush creep into her cheeks, but she brushes it off, feeling the familiar calm that always comes when she's in Liam's company. She looks around, taking in the morning. The sun hasn't quite shown itself yet, but the sky is awash in soft pinks and purples, the promise of light just around the corner. The wind picks up slightly, the leaves outside swirling in the breeze, and Maggie takes a deep breath. "It's going to be a lovely day," she says softly. Liam nods in agreement. The best days are like this, quiet and peaceful. Makes you want to take your time, you know. Maggie smiles, stepping back inside and holding the door open for him to follow. The warmth from the kitchen envelops them both as Liam steps in, the fire in the stove crackling softly, filling the room with a soft glow. The kettle begins to hum on the stove, and Maggie moves to pour 2 cups of hot tea. The aroma fills the air as she carefully places the steaming cups on the table. Tea always feels like the perfect companion for a morning like this, she says, settling into her chair and taking a sip. Liam agrees, taking his own cup in hand. There's something about mornings that feels so endless, like you have all the time in the world to just be. They sit in silence for a moment, sipping their tea and watching the world outside begin to stir. Maggie watches the birds hop from branch to branch, the sun now peeking through the clouds and casting a soft golden light over everything. It's the kind of morning that makes her feel grateful for the simplicity of life, for moments like these that she could hold on to forever. Liam sets his cup down, his eyes meeting hers once more. "I've been meaning to ask you something, Maggie," he begins, his voice uncharacteristically soft. Maggie tilts her head slightly, curious. "What is it?" He hesitates, as if weighing his words. "I've been thinking about change, about moving forward." Maggie raises an eyebrow, unsure where this is going. "What kind of change?" Liam takes a deep breath, running his hand through his hair. "I've been offered a job in the city. It's a great opportunity, and it's everything I've been working for." Maggie's heart skips a beat, the words hitting her like a sudden gust of wind. The thought of Liam leaving, of him not being so close by, makes her feel an unexpected pang of sadness. "That's amazing, Liam," she says, though her voice betrays her feelings. "But I guess that means you'd be leaving, huh?" He looks down at his cup, clearly torn. "I don't know yet. I still haven't decided." Maggie nods, trying to mask the emotions swirling inside her. "I understand. You should go where your heart takes you." She forces a smile, though it feels more fragile than she would like. The silence between them feels different now, heavier with the weight of unspoken thoughts. Maggie turns her attention back to the window, watching the sun climb higher into the sky. It's a beautiful day, despite the storm of emotions brewing inside her. After a few moments, Liam clears his throat. "You know, no matter what happens, I'm glad we've had these mornings together. They mean more to me than you might know." Maggie's heart swells, and for a brief moment, she can't find the words. Instead, she simply reaches across the table and squeezes his hand. "We'll figure it out, Liam. Whatever comes next, we'll make it work." They sit in comfortable silence for a little while longer, sipping their tea and enjoying the warmth of the morning, each lost in their own thoughts, but somehow content to be in each other's presence. The rain has stopped now, and the sun shines brightly through the window, casting soft light across the room. Liam stands as well, offering a smile. "I'll be here, Maggie, always." With a final nod, Maggie heads to the door, grabbing her coat and scarf as she goes. She pauses for a moment, turning back to Liam. "Come by any time, all right?" "I will," Liam says softly, his gaze filled with something unspoken. Maggie steps outside into the crisp morning air, the scent of the earth still fresh after the rain. The day is full of possibilities, and though her heart is heavy with uncertainty, she knows she's ready to face whatever comes her way. The bakery awaits, and with it the promise of new memories to be made. The path ahead may not always be clear, but for now, she's content to walk it one step at a time. 45 minutes. The rain had been falling steadily all morning, pattering against the windows and the roof of the bakery. Inside, the warmth from the oven and the gentle hum of the coffee machine created a comforting atmosphere, perfect for a quiet day. Lily adjusted the apron around her waist, taking a moment to breathe in the familiar scent of cinnamon and sugar that always seemed to hang in the air of her bakery. She stood at the counter, eyes scanning the various jars and containers filled with ingredients, trying to decide what to bake today. It was still early, and she had the whole day ahead of her, but something about the cozy weather made her want to bake something special, something that would warm the soul of anyone who stepped inside. She smiled to herself, remembering how many times the bakery had been the perfect escape for people looking to find a bit of peace in their busy lives. She was always glad to be a part of that. Lily walked to the pantry, where she kept all of her ingredients neatly organized on the shelves. Flour, sugar, vanilla, and spices filled the shelves from floor to ceiling. She felt at home here, in the familiar space she had built for herself over the years. The sound of the rain against the windows only added to the feeling of comfort as she took down a few jars of ingredients. As her fingers ran over the jars, Lily's mind wandered back to a recipe she had come across a while ago. a recipe her grandmother had passed down to her. The old cookbook sat on a dark wooden shelf at the far end of the pantry, its pages yellowed with age but still full of memories. It was a recipe she had meant to try for some time: baked pears with a cinnamon sugar filling. Lily smiled at the thought, always feeling a connection to her grandmother whenever she baked. With a sense of excitement, she pulled the cookbook from the shelf and opened it to the worn page marked with a small piece of paper. Her grandmother's handwriting filled the margins, making little notes here and there, small changes to the original recipe that had been passed down through generations. "Perfect for a chilly day," her grandmother had written. Lily's heart warmed as she read the familiar words. On the counter, she set the butter to soften, then moved on to preparing the almonds. Her knife made quick work of chopping them into small pieces. The rain outside grew louder, but Lily remained focused, enjoying the quiet hum of the bakery and the rhythmic tasks of preparation. The oven clicked on, its warm glow filling the room, and Lily knew it was almost time to get started. She carefully cored the pears, using a paring knife to gently slice around the center and remove the seeds. She had done this 100 times before, but each time felt like a small act of care. The pears, once cored, would be filled with a sweet, spiced mixture of butter, sugar, cinnamon, and oats. It was simple, but somehow so much more than that. Once the pears were ready, Lily began preparing the filling. She mashed the softened butter with the brown sugar, adding a touch of cinnamon and nutmeg. As the spices blended into the mixture, the smell was intoxicating, and Lily couldn't help but smile. It was the kind of scent that could make anyone feel at home. Next, she added the oats and chopped almonds, stirring the mixture until it was just right. The filling looked perfect, just as she imagined it would. With a spoon, she carefully stuffed each pear, filling them to the top with the sweet, nutty mixture. Once the pears were prepared, Lily placed them in a baking dish and added a splash of water to keep them from drying out. Her grandmother's note came to mind: "Water keeps them moist, prevents burning." Lily nodded to herself, grateful for the wisdom passed down through the years. With the pears in the oven, Lily took a moment to tidy up the kitchen. The soft sound of the rain outside filled the silence, creating a peaceful atmosphere in the bakery. The timer on the oven was set, and Lily moved to the counter to prepare for the next step of the day. Just as she began clearing the space, the bell above the door jingled, and a familiar face walked in. It was Rose, one of Lily's longtime customers. Rose had been coming to the bakery for years, and over time, they had become friends. She waved as she entered, unwrapping her scarf and hanging it over a chair. "Good morning," Rose greeted with a warm smile. Lily greeted her back, already preparing a cup of coffee for her regular customer. Rose was always pleasant company, and Lily enjoyed their conversations. "How are you today?" Lily asked, setting the coffee in front of her. Rose smiled again, sipping the warm drink. "It's a rainy one out there today," Rose remarked, glancing out the window. "Good thing I'm here for some warmth." Lily nodded in agreement. "That's exactly why I'm making these baked pears." They continued chatting as the morning passed, and soon other regulars began to filter in, each with their own stories and smiles. Some arrived drenched from the rain, shaking off their umbrellas and coats, while others carried freshly folded newspapers over their heads to shield themselves from the downpour. Lily busied herself with serving coffee, tea, and pastries, all the while keeping an eye on the oven. She could hear the timer softly ticking away, reminding her that it was almost time to check on the pears. As the minutes passed, Lily felt a sense of satisfaction. The bakery was alive with chatter and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and sweet pastries. It was a good day, And as always, she felt grateful for the little community that had gathered around her shop. The timer went off, signaling that the pears were ready. Lily walked to the oven, carefully removing the hot baking dishes. The pears had softened perfectly, the filling bubbling around the edges, and the whole bakery smelled like a cozy, sweet autumn day. She placed the pears carefully on the counter, letting them cool slightly before serving them to her customers. As she moved to the counter, she noticed Rose talking to a few other people, laughing and enjoying their company. Lily felt a wave of happiness at the sight of the bakery full of life. "Rose, would you like to try one of the pears now?" Lily asked, holding up a plate with a freshly baked pear. Rose's face lit up with excitement. "I'd love to," she replied, walking over to the counter. Lily carefully placed the pear on a small plate and handed it to Rose. As she took the first bite, her eyes widened in delight. "This is amazing," Rose exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine appreciation. "You've outdone yourself, Lily." Lily smiled, feeling a sense of pride. "I'm glad you like it." As more customers filtered in, Lily served the pears to each of them, all of them smiling in satisfaction. The day continued to unfold in the most perfect way, with laughter, good food, and the warmth of the bakery filling the hearts of everyone who stepped through the door. It was the kind of day that made her thankful for her work, her customers, and the simple, comforting moments that made everything worthwhile. The aroma of fresh-baked muffins fills the air as Lily enters the bakery early in the morning. The sun hasn't risen yet, but the warmth of the cozy bakery already makes her feel at home. She opens the kitchen door, the wooden hinges creaking slightly as she steps inside. The soft glow of the kitchen light flickers on, casting gentle shadows on the countertops. A quiet calmness surrounds the bakery as she sets her keys down on the counter and begins her morning routine. First, she fills a kettle with water, the sound of the faucet echoing softly in the silence. While she waits for the water to heat up, she pulls out a tin of her favorite cinnamon rolls, the sweet scent of dough and spice already making her stomach rumble. She places them on the counter, taking a moment to admire the way they puffed up perfectly overnight. The kettle whistles, signaling that it's time for her morning tea. She pours the hot water over a tea bag, watching as the water turns a rich amber color. The steam rises, wrapping around her like a warm hug. She inhales deeply, letting the scent of chamomile and honey fill her senses. It's a simple comfort, one that she savors before the day gets busy. As the tea steeps, Lily moves to the back of the bakery where her trusty rolling pin rests. She rolls out a fresh batch of cookie dough, kneading it gently before shaping it into little circles. Her fingers work quickly, but with a sense of purpose and calmness. The dough smells sweet and buttery, and she knows it will taste just as delicious as the last batch. Soon, the bakery starts to come alive. The first customer arrives, an older man with a thick scarf wrapped around his neck. He smiles at Lily as he walks in, his eyes twinkling in the morning light. Lily greets him with a warm smile and a cup of freshly brewed coffee. She loves the early mornings when the bakery is quiet, the pace slow, and the only sounds are the clink of cups and the occasional chatter of her customers. As more people trickle in, Lily's morning routine picks up. She slides trays of muffins into the oven, carefully arranges pastries in the display case, and takes orders from regulars who have become familiar faces over the years. The bakery has always felt like a second home to her, a place where she can offer warmth and comfort to those who need it most. In between the flurry of activity, she takes a moment to step outside. The early morning air is crisp, and the sound of distant birds singing carries on the wind. She takes a deep breath, feeling the coolness fill her lungs. It's a moment of quiet solitude before the day truly begins. Back inside, she finishes preparing her cookies and muffin trays, placing them in the oven one by one. The smells of cinnamon, vanilla, and fresh fruit swirl together, creating a comforting scent that fills the entire bakery. She stirs the coffee machine, making sure everything is ready for the next round of orders. The doorbell rings, and a young couple walks in, their faces lit up with excitement. They're here for the bakery's annual cookie decorating event, a tradition Lily started years ago. She greets them warmly, handing them aprons and inviting them to the decorating station. It's one of her favorite days of the year, watching families and friends come together to make memories while enjoying cookies, frosting, and sprinkles. The couple laughs as they start decorating their cookies, their smiles brightening the room. Other families and friends follow, filling the bakery with chatter and laughter. Lily walks around, checking in on each table, offering advice on decorating techniques, and even joining in on the fun when the opportunity arises. As the day goes on, the bakery becomes a whirlwind of activity. Cookies are decorated with bright colors, frosting is smeared on faces, and little hands reach up to grab treats from the display case. Lily smiles to herself, watching the joy around her. It's exactly what she imagined when she first opened the bakery, a place where people could come together, share moments, and make memories. Soon, the cookie decorating comes to an end, and it's time for Lily to clean up. She pulls out the broom and starts sweeping the floor, tidying up the mess left behind from a busy day. The sound of the broom brushing against the floor is soothing, almost meditative, and she takes a deep breath as she continues her work. As the last customer leaves, Lily takes a moment to sit down by the window. She gazes out at the street, where the lights are just starting to come on as dusk settles in. The rain has stopped, but the air is still cool and fresh. She thinks about how lucky she is to have this place, this community, and these people in her life. It's a gift she doesn't take for granted. With a satisfied sigh, Lily gets up and grabs her coat, heading toward the door. She locks up the bakery and steps outside into the cool night air. The world feels peaceful and calm, the rain leaving behind a soft sheen on the ground. As she walks home, she smiles to herself, knowing that tomorrow will bring another busy day in the bakery, filled with new faces, old friends, and plenty of cookies to decorate. It's a simple life, but it's hers, full of warmth, laughter, and the joy of sharing something sweet with the world. The morning air is cool as the first light of dawn breaks through the thin mist outside. Inside the cozy bakery, the soft hum of the fridge and the quiet ticking of the clock fill the space as Anna gets ready for her favorite part of the day. She takes a deep breath, letting the smell of fresh bread and sweet pastries wrap around her, settling into the rhythm of her work. Today is special. It's the annual cookie decorating day, and she's excited to get started. The counter is covered in all the ingredients she'll need: flour, sugar, butter, eggs, and vanilla. Everything is set out just right. She quickly grabs her apron and ties it snugly around her waist, ready to dive in. The first task is always the same: making the perfect sugar cookies. She begins by sifting the dry ingredients together, watching as the flour falls in soft clouds into the bowl. The smell of vanilla fills the air as she adds it to the mixture, and soon the rich, buttery dough begins to take shape. With a smile, Anna rolls it out onto her work surface, the dough cool to the touch, and begins to use her favorite cookie cutters to make festive shapes. trees, stars, reindeer, and candy canes, all waiting to be decorated later. She arranges the cookies neatly on a baking sheet and slides them into the oven. As the cookies bake, Anna begins setting up the seating area. She arranges small tables, each with a jar of colorful sprinkles, icing tubes, and little bowls filled with candy bits. Each spot will be a perfect station for the guests who will soon arrive to decorate their own sweet creations. The soft sound of Christmas music begins to play in the background, adding to the cozy atmosphere. Just as the last batch of cookies begins to cool, the first guest of the day walks in. Tom, the regular. He's a friendly face, always the first to arrive when it's cookie decorating day. His eyes sparkle as he greets Anna, the anticipation of a fun day ahead making him even more cheerful than usual. Ready for a sugar rush, Anna? Tom laughs, his hands over. Anna smiles and nods, handing him his cup with a wink. Only if you're ready to work off all those calories with some decorating, she chuckles. The bakery starts to fill with more customers, each one eager to get their hands in the icing and sprinkles. Families, friends, and children begin to gather around the tables, chatting and laughing, with the scent of fresh cookies hanging in the air. Anna takes a moment to stand back and watch it all unfold, her heart swelling with pride. She loves the energy of cookie decorating day, the joy on her customers' faces as they transform simple cookies into masterpieces. The first batch of sugar cookies is cool enough to handle, so Anna sets them on the counter. The decorating supplies are laid out in a way that's sure to spark creativity. There are glistening sprinkles in every shape and color, from red and green to gold and silver, perfect for the holiday season. Icing tubes filled with pastel shades and glittery powders sit next to small bowls of colored sugars. A group of children runs up to the table, eager to get started. Anna crouches down to their level, smiling warmly. She points out all the fun supplies they can use, encouraging them to let their imaginations run wild. The excitement in their eyes makes Anna smile. This is what it's all about. Meanwhile, Tom is busy decorating his cookies, carefully piping icing into intricate designs. He takes a bite of his first cookie, savoring the perfect blend of sweet sugar and rich butter. These are absolutely perfect, Anna, just like always, he says with a grin, showing his appreciation. As the hours pass, the bakery is buzzing with energy. The room is filled with chatter and laughter as people gather together, sharing tips on the best way to decorate or how to make the cookies extra special. Anna moves between the tables, offering guidance and making sure everyone has what they need. She makes sure to greet every customer with a kind word and a smile, feeling the warmth of community all around her. By mid-afternoon, the cookie decorating has reached a frenzy. People are proud of their creations, cookies adorned with glittering sugar, swirls of icing, and brightly colored sprinkles. It's clear that everyone is having a great time, and Anna can't help but feel a sense of joy watching her customers' faces light up. The last batch of cookies is ready to come out of the oven, and Anna's hands are busy as she takes the freshly baked goods out. She places the hot tray onto the cooling rack, the scent of baked sugar filling the room once again. The cookies are golden and perfect, with just the right amount of crispness at the edges and softness in the middle. She can't wait for everyone to try them. As the afternoon wears on, the guests begin to wrap up their decorating sessions. Some take their cookies home in little boxes, while others stay and enjoy their sweet treats with a hot drink. There's a sense of contentment in the air, the kind that comes from spending time with loved ones and sharing in a simple pleasure like baking and decorating cookies. Before long, the last guests of the day are leaving, their hands sticky with icing and smiles on their faces. Anna wipes down the tables, her heart full from the day's events. The little tree in the corner, now full of decorated cookies hanging from its branches, sparkles under the soft light. It's a perfect finish to a day that she'll remember for a long time. She takes a final look around her warm, bustling bakery, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the joy this day brings. As the last of the customers leave and the lights start to dim, Anna knows one thing for sure. This is what makes it all worth it. The laughter, the memories, and, of course, the cookies. A day filled with sweetness, creativity, and community. With a quiet sigh of satisfaction, Anna closes up for the night, already looking forward to the next cookie decorating day. She can't wait to do it all over again next year. Lily busied herself behind the counter, carefully placing the last of the trays filled with colorful cookie decorations onto the tables. She checked the clock, feeling that familiar flutter of excitement. It was almost time for the annual cookie decorating event to begin, a tradition that brought so much joy to the little bakery. The door chimed, and the first guests wandered in, a young family who had recently moved to town. They looked around the bakery with that shy, yet curious expression that new people often have. Lily smiled and waved, greeting them warmly. She gestured toward the tables, encouraging them to pick a spot and get started whenever they were ready. The family smiled back, settling at a table near the door where they could enjoy the bustling atmosphere of the bakery. Soon, the next guests arrived. A sweet elderly couple who always visited when they came to town to see their grandchildren. They made their way to a table near the back, exchanging friendly words with Lily and settling in comfortably. One by one, more familiar faces trickled in. Friends, neighbors, and people from around town, all gathering for the cookie decorating party. There was a joyful mix of age